this space for 40 plus years, and it's been 20 years since you wrote the book that really everyone knows you for. Is there something that you changed your mind on, or something that you no longer believe from that time?
Nothing that stands out that I changed my mind. There's two things I think I would do different. I would say differently. Okay. One actually is in a later book, one of my Dating Essentials for Men book, where I talked about finding a really great woman or a really great match. Unfortunately, men take that and funnel it into their one-itis. Yeah, there's this one great woman for me out there. I go, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just don't settle for a woman that's just a good woman or a wrong woman or a really wrong woman. And when guys start dating, those guys, Dr. Glover, I met this amazing woman. She's just everything I've ever wanted. I think she might be my really great woman, my RGW. I said, how long have you known her? 2 weeks. And man, it's just so good. I go, no. You can't rule her in as a really great woman in 2 weeks. Let's wait at least 2 years. You can rule her out if she's not a really great match, really great woman in less than 2 years. But let's say 2 years before you rule her in. So there's one thing from a later book. I think I would try to find a different way, but maybe guys would still turn it into their one-itis anyway. Like, I found her, no, but she actually doesn't exist. There is no one for us. The other thing from No More Mr. Nice Guy, I would word differently, is that in there, I talk about what I call healthy masturbation. And I distinguish it primarily from the way most guys jerk off, in that it's not goal-oriented or fantasy-driven. Meaning, we're not looking at porn, we're not, fantasizing about the woman at the cubicle next to us at work, or our girlfriend's sister, or whatever it is, we're fantasizing about. And it's not goal-oriented, i.e., we're not trying to ejaculate. The healthy masturbation is actually trying to get us out of those places of the goal-oriented, i.e., ejaculation, and get us out of the fantasy to trigger arousal, and instead just learning to experience our bodies, experience pleasure in our bodies, feel what feels good, learning to just touch and enjoy ourselves, receive touch and enjoyment. It's just shifting us out of that kind of masculine thing. I want to stick my dick in a hole and come, whether we're doing it, by ourselves or with, somebody else, or a tree or a sheep or whatever else. So that's just a guy thing. Right. So what I find is that guys, because I call it healthy masturbation, they go, all right, Dr. Glover, I'm practicing healthy masturbation, but I just don't get hard and I don't come. And I go, yeah, that's okay. But I still want to come. So they want to practice the healthy masturbation and still have the same results they used to get by being in a fantasy state and stimulating themselves as quickly as possible, usually to ejaculate. And so I think I don't know what I'd call it different, but I think I would leave the term masturbation out of the term, maybe call it self-pleasuring, self-satisfaction. Unfortunately, men will probably still turn that, okay, how do I do that and still come like I used to when I was masturbating? But other than would I like radically change something? No. What I would add now with more hindsight is when I finished writing No More Mr. Nice Guy, the book's been out. Really, it first showed up as kind of an ebook, maybe 25 years ago, right around 2000. And then it came out in print in 2003. Publisher Barnes & Noble put it out early 2003. So it's been in print 21 years. But I probably finished writing it 25 years ago. It took me 3 years to get it published after I finished writing it, just because a lot of publishing companies said, Robert, we like your book, it's well written, but our marketing department says men won't buy a self-help book. Well, 20-something years later, it brings in 6-figure royalty checks every year, and they keep getting bigger. So apparently men do buy self-help books, and it helps that nowadays there's a lot of podcasts. People, maybe you hear about a book on somebody's podcast, so you go on Amazon, click the link. People who bought this book also bought this book, and this book. So guys click them all. We may not read them, but we do buy books. So there's probably a lot of publishing companies that made a pretty big mistake by thinking their old kind of head up their ass logic that men don't. Well, if you don't publish self-help books for men, how can they purchase them? So I think that's changed to some degree, at least. Publishing still has their head up their ass, but at least there are good books for men out there. But in hindsight, what I would add that's not in it is that I talk about nice guy syndrome being built on a foundation of toxic shame, and that everything a nice guy does is trying to manage their shame. And what typically nice guys do is we try to become what we think other people want us to be, so that we'll be liked and loved and get our needs met. And we hide anything about us we think might get a negative reaction. And that's all triggered by toxic shame, a core belief that I'm not okay, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. These are beliefs we inaccurately internalized about ourselves at a very early age, like 2 weeks old, 2 months old, 2 years old, when our brain was kind of in a hypnotic state where we just absorbed everything. What I would add, and I started adding about the time the book came out, because I was continuing to work with nice guys, continuing to do my own work. I've continued to work with nice guys and do my own work for the last 25 years, is that I would add anxiety is also probably the co-foundation of toxic shame. That not only are nice guys trying to manage their toxic shame, they're trying to manage their anxiety. And that for the most part, nice guys live in a state of sympathetic arousal, fight, flight, freeze. And typically where we're at in that is in the flight or freeze part of it. We avoid things. We try to keep a low profile, stay under the radar, to try to manipulate people and situations to get our anxiety states down, rather than, and what I teach men is how to self-soothe themselves rather than trying to manage the states outside of them. So if I was to change anything about the book, like I said, maybe change the term healthy masturbation to something else that men could not twist quite so easily, and probably add more about anxiety if I was to put another section in there.
Well, men would always find a way to tie it back to that because we have association. So I think even if you were to change it, like you said, people would always find a way to make it what they want it to be through the reticular activating system. And I think for you now with anxiety too, I mean, you're still, I don't think retirement's even in the thought for you. I mean, you did it for a few months kind of thing. You realized you still.
Yeah, you heard me talk about that. Yeah, I was coming up on 3 years ago. I'm 68, so about 65. I thought, well, what would a semi-retirement look like? So I took 3 months off sabbatical, and I didn't do interviews. I didn't see clients. I read more books. I wrote. I spent some time camping, and just really enjoyed it. And I realized, well, there's some things I still want to do. I wanted to convert some courses into video courses, so I kind of did a deep dive on that. It took me longer than I thought because I wanted to get good at it. And then I decided, I need to launch a men's membership program. We launched that a year ago. And so about a year ago, I thought, I can't toy with the idea of semi-retirement and launch a new company. I thought, okay, I'm in it 20 more years. So I figure, about 88. My mother just turned 89. And other than a stroke she had 4 years ago, her mind's still sharp. She just doesn't get around quite as well. And I thought, okay, if I do my job and do my best to take care of me, take care of the vessel, take care of the temple, take care of this meat body, and the cerebrum, the brain, I'll do my best to take care of me. And if for the next 20 years the fates have it that I'm supposed to be on this planet making a difference, I'm here. I'll do my best, because I don't know what I would get up and do every day if I didn't get up and do what I'm already doing. I love doing what I'm doing right now with you. I love interviews. I love talking with men. I love answering their questions and talking about nice guy stuff and dating stuff and ruminating brain stuff. And I like doing that. So I don't think I'll get tired. I love running my men's membership program. I love, making a difference and building community for men. So, and if I didn't get up and do that every day, I'd probably get up and write more books. So, I guess retirement's almost irrelevant. So I'm in it.
That's why I say that. Yeah. And I love that because there's so many people that I've had on the podcast that are in their late 70s, their late 80s, and still doing this. And it's like they're still excited to jump out of bed. Those are the people that I admire the most, because I don't think retirement ever doesn't seem appealing to me, because why would I
Yeah.
want to get away from the thing that gives me energy to wake up in the morning to begin with?
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 20.
20. Yeah. Yeah. I think most 20. Well, you know what? Here's what's funny with the whole, digital marketplace. And, you can be a digital nomad. You can build your click funnel. You can sell your digital product. You can do your, $1 million launches. I actually do hear a lot of people like, yeah, I want to make my, my 10 million, my billion, whatever by 35 and then retire. And I go, and do what? To make, $1 million is very attainable nowadays with, the way the digital marketplace is set up. But to even make $1 million a year, the amount of focus and work and energy and consistency and drive it takes, you don't just turn that off because you got to whatever that marker was that you arbitrarily set for yourself. Again, for myself, I I don't know how I would turn off the fact that I like doing what I do. And why would I want to turn that off? I mean, I look at Warren Buffett. He's in his 90s. Do you think he needs more money? I don't think he needs to make more money.
No.
And I don't think he's in it to make more money. I don't think it fucking matters to him. I don't think he wants to lose money because he loses money for his shareholders. But for example, he has all the money he has set aside for his wife to live on after he dies is all set up in market funds. She doesn't have to lift a finger, right? He could put all his money in market funds and just not touch them. But he doesn't do that because he likes diving in and looking at businesses and seeing where they're strong and where they could be better and where they could be, and then, that's what he does. So, yeah, you got a good another 90, 100 years for yourself before you even think about retirement.
I don't like the idea. I think the people that are obsessed with what they're doing are the people that get excited and don't ever looking forward to retirement. You've said it before. It's like we're always looking for our best day ever. But why do we have to rush to get there? I mean, so many people are in a rush in such a place that we kind of miss out on where we are in such a way. And anxiety is a great way to lean into anxiety, the ruminating brain, because if you would have added that on the first book, it's one of the things that as the more we're on our phones, the more technology becomes just a thing in this world, it just continues to increase and rise. So what is the first step to kind of overcome that ruminating brain?
You know what? Can I lead you astray just for a minute? First, something you said about best day ever, and then I'm happy to talk about ruminating brain. I don't get asked about that as often as I would like, so we'll come back to it. Best day ever. What is that? That's a good question to ask ourselves because I think most of us want to live our best life, and we have certain markers that we think once we get there, that'll be it. Oh yeah, I'm there. It may be a level of fitness. Yeah, if I get up to, certain amount of, body weight, but, this little body fat and this much muscle mass, or I can bench this much or squat this much, then life will be good. Or, if I've got X amount of passive income coming in every day, I make money while I sleep, ClickFunnels doing its job, that's it. Or, maybe I have the most beautiful girlfriend and we're so in love and we just get, or maybe I'm in Thailand and I have 3 beautiful girlfriends. Whatever we think that is, why aren't we living it today? What prevents today from being our best day? Because we can tie this into ruminating brain. Whatever our brain tells us, well, when this happens, then I can have my best day. When I've made this much money, when I have this pretty of a girlfriend, when I'm in this kind of shape, then I can have it. But have you ever noticed, even when you hit those marks, sometimes it just adds more stress to your life. You get that beautiful woman and you go, fuck, I just want some alone time. I just want some bro time. I don't want to be with her all the time. Or you get in shape, you go, oh, I think I put on a pound or 2. I think I got a little more belly fat coming on, or like right now, I hired a nutrition coach about 2 months ago. And I told her, I'm not going to count macros. I'm not going to count calories. I'm not going to do this. And she goes, yeah, we are. We're going to do that. And she said, my macros in terms of my protein mark, my fat, carbs, and I'm putting it into an app. And you know what? This is kind of fun. I'm kind of enjoying it. And not only am I kind of enjoying it because I like the puzzle that, you know, it all weaves, and okay, if I eat this much protein, I'm more likely to get this much more fat, because most protein sources have, you know, X amount of fat depending on the protein source. And you know, I love the puzzle of it. And I was actually off the grid last week at a leadership / music festival retreat up in Northern California. And, you know, a lot of good food. And, you know, I tried to eat, you know, like I didn't count my macros, but I tried to eat within, and I got home and I'd lost weight. And so I get on the scale and I'm like, 82.95 kilos. I dropped over half a kilo in that week. And I haven't weighed that much since about 2009. So over 15 years ago, where I was working with a trainer. I was really fit. I was really strong. And I thought, how cool is that? And then that joy lasted all of about 30 seconds. You know, okay. I thought it'd be so cool to get, you know, under 85 kilos. Then I got under 84, then under 83. And it's going, yeah, okay. I could still lose a little bit more right here. So why wasn't that my best day ever? Right. You know, so I'm a big fan of, instead of having these external markers that, oh, you know, I can't have my best day till I have a beautiful woman, or until, you know, I make this much money, or I'm in this kind of shape. Why not get up today and live today in whatever manner you would live your best day if it was your best day? Now, what would that look like? Would we be doing the things that we're doing? And if not, are the things we're doing at least leading us towards our best day ever? Are they the fractals of our best day ever? You know, so am I going to the gym today? Am I eating healthy today? Am I taking my dog for a walk today? Am I getting down on the floor and nuzzling with my dog? Am I having good moments with my wife? Am I loving on my kids? Am I getting up and meditating by the pool and doing my morning pages? Those are the things that make my best day, right? And the fact that I'll do 3 interviews today, already got my gym workout in, you know, it's on track for being a really damn good day. Even went to Home Depot. You know, what day isn't a good day when you go to Home Depot? You know, so it's on track for being best day ever. Why not live every day on track for being your best day ever? And all of a sudden you start noticing I'm stringing a lot of good days together where I wake up, I'm happy, I'm in a good mood, I'm content, I'm enjoying my life, I enjoy the people around me, every day's an adventure. I go to bed at night. One of my mantras is I love waking up in the morning not knowing how my day's going to end.
Yes. Yes.
Some people tell me, Robert, that's hell. That's personal hell. I get up in the morning, I want to know exactly how my day's going to end. I go, oh man, go have an adventure. Go talk to people you don't know. Go places you've never been. Go eat in a restaurant you've not eaten in. Go walk someplace you've never walked. Open yourself up for adventure. That's a good day.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that was something I wanted to touch on in this podcast. I find that we feel as though we want the certainty of what the day is going to look like. But what's exciting about that, if you knew how your day was going to go every single day, and you knew what your life was mapped out, you know, every job that you were going to get, every relationship, how it was going to turn out. What's the point of life then? If you're not going to if there's nothing to get excited for, like it doesn't make sense to me personally. But I love that you touch on just it's so important to understand that most of the time our goals that we put on a pedestal, it's almost the anticipation that we want more than actually achieving the thing.
Yeah.
That is what dopamine is.
I was watching a podcast recently, Huberman Lab. I always mispronounce his last name. I don't know why. He was talking about, dopamine. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot of things that the anticipation of it releases as much dopamine as the actual act of it. And believe it or not, thinking about sex releases as much dopamine as having sex. Thinking about, using cocaine releases almost as much dopamine as using cocaine. And, when they talk about it, it is the journey. It really is the journey. I sometimes tell a story. I bought this house 8 years ago, and it needed a lot of TLC. So tore out all the plants in the yard, kind of put everything in pots, started landscaping it anew. And so we're going to this place where you get concrete monuments, like little bird baths or a tiger in your front yard, whatever. And I saw this concrete Buddha, the chubby laughing Buddha version, and I thought, I want that Buddha. I want that in my yard. And I thought about it for a few weeks. And I go, oh, how am I going to, how am I going to get it? How am I going to get it delivered? It's heavy. I can't bring it home in I don't have a vehicle. I can't lift it off the truck. But finally, we went and, oh, yeah, they'll deliver it and they'll put it in the front yard. So I bought it, paid for it, waited a couple more days for them to deliver it. They brought the Buddha, we told them where we want it, put it in the front yard. I stand back and looked at it and go, I'm not any happier than I was yesterday. And I think how profound that a Buddha statue, where he thought that our attachment to outcome is the cause of all suffering. I was attached. I was going to be happy when I got that Buddha statue and I got it. And I go, nope, not any happier than the day before. And so that was a good lesson. Every time I look at the Buddha statue in my front yard, I think, yeah, be happy today. Be happy today. The journey is today. Today, I have everything I need to be happy. I'm complete today. Nothing, no more money is going to make me happy. Not having more time in my day is going to make me happy. No more sunshine is going to make me happier. Just today's got plenty to make me happy. And I don't know. Seems like it's an easier way to live. I've started, when I was at this camp last week, we did this meditation and I came out of it. Oh, my wife's waving goodbye. She's taking off. I came out of this meditation with a mantra, and it just said, be easeful, live easefully. I launched this new company in the last year, and, running a new startup is not easeful. You're trying to, generate income, get members, membership programs have churn. You lose a lot of members. I got salaries I got to pay. I got technology I got to pay for. Sometimes I'm, balancing, who do I pay first? And it can be stressful. But I wanted to do this. I think it's meaningful and worthwhile. And I love the challenge of it. I'm swimming in deeper waters than I've ever been in business-wise. And I love it. I got several people in my life. I did an interview with a guy earlier today. He said, Robert, let's talk after this call. I can help you scale your business to a $10 million a year business. I got people wanting to help me. I got 3 or 4 people I talk to once a month just because they like what I'm doing. And they're like high paid professional consultants giving me their services for free just because they like what I'm doing and they want to help. So this has been a beautiful project, but it is stressful. And so I came back from this retreat thinking, how can I do everything more easefully? How can I pay my bills more easefully? How can I make my decisions about the future of the company more easefully? How can I communicate with my team more easefully? How can I my wife woke up this morning and said, I don't feel well. Can you take our daughter to school? And my wife usually takes her. And I go, yeah. So driving to school, 7:30 in the morning, a lot of traffic. And, I think, how can I drive my daughter to school easefully without stressing about the traffic? And, I got her there and got home and without being stressed. So I'm really liking that mantra. And then a friend of mine said, he adds joyfully to it. How can I do this easefully and joyfully? So how do I drive my daughter to school in traffic easefully and joyfully? And, I'm kind of liking that one.
Yeah, it serves you. And I think it serves everyone. I mean, the lifestyle or perspective I like to take is that is to enjoy the passage of time. It's not so much to get to a certain place in the future, but it's to enjoy the time passing as it is. Every day is that perfect day. You don't have to look forward to something in the future. And
yeah,
we do so much. It's unfortunate that we have to have something negative happen in our lives to force us to kind of make a positive change. At least that's for most people. But you really don't have to wait until that point if you can get ahead of it. Talking about your retreat, and you've done a lot of men's groups and men's work and worked one-on-one with people. What do you find are the differences with working in a men's group versus working one-on-one with someone?
I enjoy I enjoy doing Q&A programs. I like speaking in front of groups. I like men's group, and I like doing the one-on-one. And my background is actually marriage therapy. So I used to be, my bread and butter is working with couples. Here's why I like working with men in groups. If we get 2 guys together, so you and I sat down to work on you, work on me, whatever, pretty quickly we'd get into our heads. That's what guys do. We get into our heads. We get intellectual. We get analytical about stuff, which is fine. But I don't think it moves men forward as much as some other things will. Good information's good. Okay, you read my book, some other good book, there's good information. But when you put a man in a social context and say a men's group of 8 guys or a workshop, 8, 12, 25 guys, like when I was at this retreat last week, we did a circle just with the men one afternoon that I and a couple of the guys led. There were probably 50 of us. And, we actually didn't even know what we were going to do with it when we started. And then we were out in the woods and the redwoods, and we actually had to move from a certain place because we were doing a sound check for the music later on. So we went on this long hike, crossed over this river on this log real high, and I had fear, but I did it. And everybody else, I'm looking back, I'm not the only one. We did that, got out into a meadow. We're watching these vultures circling above. I thought they were hawks, but I guess they're vultures. And it was just a beautiful, it's up this Northern California, redwoods, clearing, and we got back, and for days guys kept coming, Robert, that was great, thank you for that what we did. I'm going, I was totally unplanned. We just kind of totally went, we gave them 3 things to talk about while we were walking, what their strengths were, something that they're currently challenged by, and what answers do they want by the time they leave this retreat. And, we get out there and did a circle, and we shared, and each person had to share what they valued most about their partner, from that moment. And the guys are hugging it out and then telling me what a great process it was. So there's something about, you put men in a tribe, and not only does it get us a little bit more out of our head and more into our bodies in the moment and our feelings, we start realizing we're not alone. We're not unique. We're not the only person that struggles with what we struggle with. We have to actually start giving a shit about somebody and letting people give a shit about us. And so I think putting men in a group is just so transformative to mainly find out I'm not unique in what I struggle with, whether it's my struggle with pornography, with, discipline, with procrastinating, with, avoidance of difficult situations, with my money, whatever it is. You get guys around other guys. The program on a call yesterday, one guy in there, very successful businessman, and he runs his own business. He has, I don't know, 100 or more employees. He shared the other day, he said, I think I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. Some things have just caught up with me that I didn't see coming. And he shared that a couple weeks ago. And then on this one, he said, I just feel like all I am is a check writer in life. That's all I do is write checks for people. And he was sharing. And then later on, he said, I've never told that to anybody in my lifetime. Never talked about my money stresses or how I feel. And so just put him in a group. And he's talking about stuff that's real. And other people are going, I've filed bankruptcy. Yeah, I've struggled with, my finances. Yeah, I feel that way. That's all I do is I'm a bank account. I'm an ATM. And all of a sudden, men are getting real with each other. And even if it doesn't solve their immediate issue, they know they're not alone. And that goes a long way. So I really like getting men in a group to find out we're not alone, and just develop that depth of connection, that tribe with other men. Now we got guys we can call for support, for accountability. And I've got several support accountability groups in my life that keep me on track with writing, with exercise, which is life in general. So I'm a believer in it. And again, yeah, one-on-one work can be good, but I think you multiply that when you put a man in a group.
Yeah, I would agree. Do you know who David Sutcliffe is by chance?
The name rings a bell, but I'm not sure where I could place him.
I would have to introduce you. He was in Hollywood for 30 plus years, and then he's now into men's work. I had him on the show probably last year or so.
I'd love to meet him.
Yeah, I went down to his studio. He's in Austin, Texas, and we were talking about men's groups and in that area. And he thinks that a lot of people come in thinking they want one-on-one, and then when they actually experience group, because it's a little bit more scary before they jump into it,
it is.
You realize group is way more in alignment with what we really truly want deep down, because we're tribal beings. I mean, that's what we need. We need a bunch of people around us. But a common thread of a nice guy, I guess you would say, is we isolate ourselves, though.
Yeah.
We put ourselves in a position where we don't want to be around anyone, let alone a group. So why do you think men tend to do that when they know deep down that group is what they really need?
Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't know that. Okay. In fact, I think most of us don't know that.
Yeah.
I wrote an article just a few weeks ago about men's isolation. And my premise of it was that I think the majority of men's isolation, because there's an epidemic. I mean, you can hear and read a lot about the loneliness and the toll it takes on our physical health, our well-being, depression, suicide, shortened quality of life, shortened lifespan, all because of lack of social connection. So it's profound, and it's epidemic among men. And I believe for most men it's a choice. Now, maybe not a conscious choice in say like they get up every morning going, I'm going to isolate myself today.
Right.
But I think it is within their realm of choices to do something different. Now, my view of this, and this is just my perspective, I'm not saying it's right or accurate, is that I think what's happened is that we live in a feminized world, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I think social media in general is feminizing. Our school system is feminizing. Just drinking water out of plastic bottles is feminizing. And I mean, you don't have to look too far to find statistics that just show these dynamics happening. And that would probably be okay. It probably wouldn't be the end of the world if young men had some sort of masculine initiation, some ritual initiation, mainly to help them face fears, get uncomfortable being uncomfortable, live at their edge. Because the way I see a lot of men, especially men that grew up with the internet, which is you, and you know, my son's 39 and he grew up with the internet as well, is that a lot of men grew up with the internet are great at consuming information, highly intelligent. You seem very, very well informed, which is not unusual for guys your age. You just can consume information, but that doesn't require anything of you. It gets pushed to you. You may go look around which podcast you're going to listen to, but it still gets pushed to you. You can spend your day, you know, playing World of Warcraft, video games. You can spend your day looking at porn, you know, jerking off to porn. You can spend your day smoking dope. It's legal in most areas. You can spend your day, you know, surfing the internet for shit you don't need. You can spend your day swiping up and down on Instagram or swiping right on Bumble or Tinder. You can spend your day doing all that stuff. And then, you know, you go to bed at 2 a.m. after playing World of Warcraft all night and maybe smoking a joint or two. And you know, and then you get up and do it again. And maybe you have these dreams of building your click funnel and launching your product, but hey, it's just easier to kind of surf the internet for a while and procrastinate and build in there that maybe a lot of diagnosed and undiagnosed ADHD, and even just living in a digital world that I think stimulates ADHD. Creates it where it wasn't maybe there before. So I call that hanging out in the nursery, where nothing's really required of you. And when I see, for example, you know, the groups that, you know, identify as incels and involuntary celibate, MGTOW, men going their own way, maybe even the no FAP community, is that I think when men don't have masculine initiation, we just stay in our feminized state, because we're all born feminine. Even as little boys, we're needy, we're dependent, we're in a feminine state. We're raised by feminine caretakers. Our ancestors usually at about when we're 10, 12 years old, took us out to work on the farm, took us out, you know, we worked with our dad, our cousins, our uncles, our grandfather. Prior to that, in tribal times, we got taken out and put in a life-threatening, scary situation while they watched over us. You know, we didn't know that they were going to protect us, but we thought we might could die. But that's the point. Can you deal with this fear of death? And once you overcome that, you're now welcomed into the masculine world, because the masculine world is scary, and you got to be okay with dying in order to do successfully in the masculine world. Most of us don't get that, so we just stay in that nursery. And I think for anything to change or be different, we do need to give men of all ages a pathway to some sort of masculine initiation. Now, it's funny. It doesn't even have to be that dramatic. You don't have to go do this 5-day and night vision quest by yourself, you know, no water, no eating, whatever. Even like in my men's program, my membership program, we dance at the end of every call. And, you know, we just put on, you know, music, and we're dancing on Zoom. and kind of just don't give a fuck. Good men dancing badly. I said, shed your shy dance syndrome. Even getting up and dancing on Zoom in the privacy of your own room with other men on Zoom dancing, that's challenging for a lot of men. So even just getting up and moving our bodies in a celebratory way can be masculine initiation. As simple as that. If you got out of your comfort zone, felt uncomfortable for a little bit, and did it anyway, that's masculine initiation. Now, how can we repeat that in numerous ways as part of a tribe, as part of a team? We're not doing it alone, we're doing it together. So I think what's happened with the isolation thing is men don't know what they're missing. I had men at that retreat after doing that, hour and a half, 2 hour, little adventure that wasn't even highly structured or pre-planned. Guys came up to me and said, that was amazing. I got to find a men's group. They didn't know what they were missing. So I think for a lot of times, it's just easier to get up and do what we did yesterday. And we know if we actually went and got into a group and started revealing ourselves, we'd have to give a shit about somebody else, let them give a shit about us. We'd have to actually reveal how much time I do waste looking at porn, how much time I do waste on social media, how much I do procrastinate, how underperforming I really am. We're going to have to let people know that. And we're going to then have to look at it ourselves, which I think is wonderful. I think is a good idea to look at it. But we have to actually show it to somebody else, I think, for us to see it clearly. And most of us don't. Just like that guy that guy I told you about, was not thrilled about saying, I may have to file bankruptcy. He never told anybody that in his life. It probably took a lot of courage to open up and share that with us. And it probably felt a lot better after he did. Financial situation hasn't changed one iota, but he probably had less stress about it. So that's the beauty of being in men's group. And of any kind. There's so many different ways of doing it. I think going to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can do it. I think going to your church's divorced recovery group can do it. I think even going to a pickup boot camp and going out with a bunch of bros, challenging yourself to go talk to women that scare the shit out of you. Even that, I think, can be that kind of masculine initiation. So there's so many ways we can do it, that we can find that connection with men that challenge us to get out of our comfort zone and risk and be vulnerable. And I think that's how we grow as men. That's how we become our best selves. I think it's how we have our best days.
Yeah, the vulnerability is the most difficult part, right? I mean, the quote I heard once said, confrontation is the catalyst to growth. And I really loved that, because it means you have to confront what you don't want to be real. And if you don't speak it out into the world, it's almost like it is real, it's true, but I don't have to admit it to someone else, so it doesn't feel as real as though actually telling somebody else about it, let alone telling the whole group about it. You talking about men not having this fear of death, it's funny because it brings up something for me where I lost a lot of men in my life early on. My uncle, father both passed at 37. Grandfather passed a few months before his retirement. I saw it, but I grew up with a mother and sister. And so it was like full-on feminine, and all the masculine passed away, right? So
yeah.
For you early on, I know that it was a lot of nice guys became nice guys because of an absent father. And then the more you worked with people, you realized it was more because some of them had a nice guy father. So it wasn't so much that.
I see a lot more of that. Yeah.
Yeah. What role does the father figure play in someone becoming a nice guy?
I don't think the father plays the only role. I think it is significant. I write early in No More Mr. Nice Guy. Again, I wrote this 25 years ago, and I was talking then to like a lot of maybe baby boomers or Gen X. And now we got millennials and Gen Y or Z. I'm not sure where all the letters are. You're Z, right? Is that what you're?
I am Z.
You're Z. Okay.
I don't know how. I don't know what's after, but yes.
I don't. Yeah. What's next? We run out of letters. So it does seem to be in a state of flux and evolution. Now, I read an article in a Canadian newspaper, and the reason I saw it is that I get a Google email every time Robert Glover or No More Mr. Nice Guy shows up online, and so this one came up, and it was an article, and basically I don't love the term, but it's a pretty woke article written by a guy that is blasting anything having to do with traditional masculinity. And he listed several books. I think he listed The Game by Neil Strauss, listed Iron John by Robert Bly, which is a classic, listed my book, listed The Rational Male by Rollo Tomasi, and
David Data.
I don't know if he had Way of the Superior Man, but there's one other book in there that I highly regarded. All the books, I thought, if my book is in that category with all these other books, I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right, you know. And he lumped them all together, every one of them, no matter, all the way from The Game now to Rational Male, as all being about traditional masculinity, and even kind of ripped Robert Bly, who's dead and gone, a new asshole, kind of like he was taking man backwards into traditional masculinity. And I'm going, number one, this guy probably hasn't read the books, and he's just lumping them together as these are bad. But this guy went on to quote statistics, I don't know where the fuck he got them, that said that statistically boys do better without a father. Now, where he got those, I don't know. I mean, pick up Warren Farrell's the Boy Crisis, and any other true science about the influence on the development of boys. And fathers are essential. Fathers are important. Can fathers be abusive? Yeah. Can fathers be detrimental to their sons? Yeah. Can mothers be abusive? Yeah. Can mothers be? It'd be like saying, oh, look, here is an abusive, borderline, narcissistic mother that really fucked her little boy up. That means boys would be better without mothers. No, it doesn't work like that, right? So the science was terrible, but it's kind of like just quoted it as if, oh yeah, this is understood. Boys do better without fathers. Can fathers be part of the problem? Yeah. In fact, I tell men that I work with, your father inherently is going to let you down. Your father inherently is going to be less than what you needed. Here's why. If we go back 100 years, like I said, you and I, born to a father in agrarian times, and we really only have to go back about 100 years or so to get back where we pretty much all lived on farms. The Industrial Revolution was here, but most of our dads were not going to the factory. We were still growing up on a farm, just 100, 150 years ago. Again, we grew up with our dads, with our uncles, with our grandfathers, with our cousins. So we were around men, and for good or for bad. I talk to guys and I say, what was your father's life like? What was your grandfather's life like? And when men know the story of their father or their grandfathers, almost always the stories are horrific. War is often involved, that, loss of life, loss of, fathers losing their fathers at 5 years old because of war, extreme, severe economic conditions were part of it. Illness was a part of it. Addiction could also often be a part of it. Abuse is often. And to just wonder how our fathers and their fathers turned out anywhere close as well as they did is amazing, considering the trauma that they dealt with that I haven't had to deal with and you haven't had to deal with. Now, you lost father young and you lost family members young, and that is traumatic. That didn't diminish your need to have a dad. So our dads are going to mess us up. Our ancestors 150 years ago were raised by a small tribe of men. It's called extended family, right? Now we have nuclear or smaller families, like single moms. Go back 6,000 to 10,000 years ago, we were tribal. We were raised by a tribe. And so if, for example, you and I going from childhood, raised by the women, into adulthood and masculinity, if we needed a tribe of initiated masterful men to get us there, 30, 50, 100, 150 men were needed to get us into our masculine fullness. How could one dad do that? One dad who probably was not initiated in any positive way himself. One dad that maybe grew up with an alcoholic father, or his father was absent. So our fathers are going to let us down. There's no way around it. Even a good father is not going to give us everything we needed. Now, as I said, now what I run into, younger generation, and like I said, this was starting with my son, who's a millennial, maybe maybe your experience, a lot of guys are saying they had nice guy fathers. Not the father was absent or addicted or abusive. I mean, I still get those. But by far, the largest category of young men reporting dad was a nice guy. And all dad taught them about being a man was don't piss off your mother. Because that's what dad was trying not to do, was piss off the boy's mother. And so they grow up, that becomes the golden rule of life. We grow up into adolescence and adulthood. Don't piss off the woman. Doesn't matter who the woman is. She might, put you on social media. She might hashtag me to you. She may report you to, HR or human resources and said you made her uncomfortable. Whatever you do that pisses off a woman might really have disastrous consequences. And so more than ever, we need a masculine initiation that strips our sense of identity and well-being away from feminine approval and validation. And again, we need group, we need tribe, we need men to help us do that. I'd much rather, if I'm going to seek external validation, I'd much rather seek it from men. Because in the masculine world, there's actually a certain standard of performance. You know if you scored a touchdown or not. You know if you hit a home run or not. You know if you made a basket or not. It's measurable. When the feminine world, you don't know. You don't know if you pass the test. You don't know if you've pleased them. You don't know if they're going to like you tomorrow. You just don't. They may like you today, but you don't know if they're going to like you tomorrow. That happens. So that's why we got to get men more connected to that masculine world, out of the nursery, out of seeking the feminine approval.
I think one of the biggest challenges, not just for men, but overall, is the love of yourself. We're always looking to love others, and rarely do we put enough emphasis on loving ourselves. And we can't let anyone love us, nor can we love anyone more than we love ourselves at the end of the day. And so if we're trying to find a tribe, or we're trying to love someone else, we need to love ourselves to be able to even initiate those actions. So what are some of the things that we can do to kind of love ourselves more from a place?
Yeah, and I agree with you that is the standard. We can't love someone more than we love ourselves. We can't let them love us more than we love ourselves. And most of us go, well, where do I start? What do I do? A really good book that's been around a long time is called The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck.
Yeah.
Love the book. A lot of younger coaches and I've never heard of it, but I'm told it's the best-selling self-help book of all time. And he's got a model in there that he teaches. If parents meet their children's needs in timely and judicious ways, and I add to that consistent, because I think that's important as well, a child emotionally internalizes the following beliefs. I'm lovable. I'm important. I'm valuable. 2, my needs are important. And 3rd, the world is like my family. And he says, basically, you can tell your child, you're amazing. I love you. You're special. You could do that 100 times a day. And if you don't meet their needs in timely, judicious ways, they won't believe a word of it. They can't. They may try. They may go, I know mommy tells me I'm special. And again, that's something I see in more your generation, is that you've grown up in systems, with parenting and school systems that just tell you, you're amazing, you're special, you're unique. And that's all wonderful, but you look around, what the fuck? I'm overweight, or I have pimples, or I really haven't ever accomplished anything in life, but I know I'm special and unique. Just hearing it doesn't make you believe it. Okay. But Peck says, if your needs get met in timely, judicious, and I add consistent ways, you internalize, I'm lovable, I'm valuable, my needs are important, the world's like my family. Now, as you can imagine, in families where that doesn't happen, when our needs aren't met. I mean, none of us had perfect parents. Some were better than others. But when we don't get our needs met in timely, judicious, consistent ways, we internalize the opposite. I'm not particularly important. I'm not lovable. I'm not valuable. My needs aren't important. And the world's like my family. Now, add one more thing. If we were parentified, if we were called up to meet the needs of one of our parents, I was parentified by both my parents, because I like to play sports and my dad valued that. I got value. Because I'd listened to my mom talk about her problems, complain about my dad. I got value by being, so I was a golden child with both of them. Add another core belief. If you were parentified by one or more parents, another core belief is I'm not good enough, because I should have been a good enough athlete to make dad consistently proud. I should have been, good enough to never make a mistake, that mom would be happy and not depressed and not complain about dad anymore. And you can't. A child can't meet the needs of a parent. So imagine kind of going back to Scott Peck's model. What if you had this, not just a belief in your head, but an emotional, it's in your nervous system. It's your machine language. It's your operating language. It says, I'm lovable. My needs are important. The world's like my family. Can you imagine going off to kindergarten? I'm lovable. My needs are important. And kindergarten is going to be just like my family. Or hitting junior high. I'm lovable. I'm valuable. And junior high is going to treat me just like my family. Or, young adulthood. I mean, just think about how you would have functioned in the world until maybe you found out that junior high was hell. It is for everybody. But what if you still had some of that belief? I'm valuable. I'm lovable. My needs are important. But most of us go into all these transitions of life going, I'm not that I'm not lovable. I'm not important. I'm not that smart. I'm not that good looking. I'm not that popular. I'm not that this. I'm not that. And, and my needs, everybody else's needs come before mine. So here's my theory. Guys will often say, well, I don't feel lovable. I don't feel good about myself. How do I learn to feel lovable? I don't think you can talk yourself into it. I don't think you can just say, I'm lovable. I'm valuable. My needs are important. It'll create a cognitive dissonance that another part of your brain will just drown that out. And you just go back to doing whatever it is you're doing that tends to trigger your shame and anxiety and make you feel not particularly lovable or particularly loved. So what if we took Scott Peck's model and we consciously started working at meeting our needs in timely, judicious, and consistent ways? We gave to ourselves. We started meeting our needs. We got enough sleep at night. We started eating healthy. We got to the gym on a regular basis. We meditated. We did our journaling. We sought out social connection, which is essential for mental health. We challenged ourselves. What if we start meeting our needs? And what if we also surrounded ourselves with people who want to help us get our needs met? And I call those cooperative reciprocal relationships. You and I have a cooperative reciprocal relationship. We both agreed to get on this call together because you get some value out of it. I get some value out of it. If we weren't getting value out of it, we probably wouldn't keep doing it. So what if we filled our life with people and professionals and practices and packs, groups of people that all helped fill our bucket up and get our needs met in timely, judicious ways? My theory is, and I've found it to be true, at least personally, and in people who actually will do this practice, I walk people through a very quick and easy practice of identifying what are the CRRs you have in your life now, your cooperative reciprocal relationships. How are you using them effectively? Are you engaged with them to help you fill your bucket on a regular basis? What CRRs are you missing that you need to add? If you don't have a dentist, you need to add a dentist. If you need to add an accountant, if you need to add a personal trainer. For me, it was a nutrition coach 2 months ago. I was in a workshop and I said, I need a nutrition coach. 2 guys raised their hand. I got one. And, I contacted them both. I got a nutrition coach and it's paying off. So if we identify what do we need to help fill our bucket, and then the third part of the exercise I give is identify what relationships are no longer cooperative or reciprocal. Maybe a buddy from high school that you used to do stupid stuff with and you don't do that stupid stuff anymore, but that's all he wants to do. Maybe it's a family member that's just hooking up a hose to you and sucking you dry and, doesn't give anything back. Maybe these require a difficult conversation, maybe a renegotiation of a contract. Maybe it involves cutting them out of your life, opening up space for more good to come in. In my experience, the more I make my needs a priority, the more I consciously fill my bucket. And again, it's as simple as, I wear a sleep tracker, an app to where I track my sleep. And if I get to bed early, if I go to bed 9:30ish to 10, I get better night's sleep. I can perform at a higher level. I'm happier. If I eat a certain way, I'm healthier. I cut alcohol out of my life in the last few months. My life hadn't gotten better or worse, but I think in the long run, the next 20 years will be better without alcohol. So it's just a self-care thing for me. I've cut pretty much sugar out of my life. I cut dairy out of my life because I'm allergic to it. So I cut things out of my life that aren't serving me, not because it makes me a better person. They weren't serving me. I connect with my friends on a regular basis. I go out of my way to stay connected with my friends. And ones that don't live here, any chance I get, I go visit them or I invite them to come visit me. Again, I meditate every morning. I do some morning pages. I take my dog for a walk every morning. It's part of my ideal day. It's Nala and my wife and I go for a walk and I toss her balls and she's as happy as she can be. The dog is happy with chasing the balls. And so that's self-care, right? And then my wife, I was working out just for the call and I have a gym in the house. And I came into my office and there was a glass of coconut water on my glass. My wife had left it in here because she likes doing things that serve me. I have friends that serve me. I have an accountant that serves me. I have a financial advisor that serves me. I have a chiropractor that serves me. I have a fitness nutrition coach that serves me. I've got lots of people in my life that want to help make my life better. Some of them I pay. That's great. And you know what? It allows me to give more love and receive more love because I've opened to the I'm valuable. I'm important. My needs are important because I take good care of myself and I keep learning how to take better care of myself, which will let me love more and let me be loved more in the process. So as ironic as this sounds for most people to say, to be a truly loving person, to give love, more love, to receive more love, you have to love you more by you making your needs more of a priority. Now, we've all been raised, no, give to everybody else, take care of everybody else, put yourself last. Don't be selfish. Don't be thinking of yourself. That's actually back-asswards information. The world would be a far more loving place if everybody was making their needs a priority and then finding cooperative reciprocal resources to help them get their needs met.
Men are bad at receiving and they're bad at asking for things as well.
Horrible. Yeah. So, in general, horrible.
Right. So, and especially if we grow up, and I would say most of society grew up with not getting their needs met in some way, not in a timely manner, not consistently. And when we're young, abandonment is essentially death for a child. And so if that is our emphasis of what we remember to be true, we're going to go into the world thinking that's what life is.
Yeah.
You went into a childhood development in grad school. Is there anything else that you feel we need to know about childhood development to put ourselves in a better position moving forward?
That's a good question. It's been a long time since I had Child Development 101. But yeah, that's what I remember being taught first, is that for a child, abandonment feels like death because we're totally needy, totally dependent. And any uncomfortable situation feels like abandonment. You're hungry and you don't get fed. You're cold, you don't get wrapped up. And all of it still goes back to getting your needs met in those timely, judicious ways. Just off the top of my head, if you watch children, when I was at this camp, this retreat last week, it was family friendly. And there were a number of young kids there. And it was, this giant Boy Scout campground, so several acres. But there's one big clearing kind of outside the main lodge where you got your meals and stuff like that. And the kids were out there. And, they had structured activities for the kids. And they had, people, watching over them, volunteers that watched them at various times of the day. But you know what? The kids just played. They made up their own games. They ran, they kind of hollered, they would, pick up hula hoops and play with them. They would kick balls. And they had seemingly unbounded energy. I go, where does that come from? Now, maybe as we get older, our mitochondria changes and we don't get as much energy production. But what if we kind of got a little bit of that back, of just a playfulness of spirit, a spontaneity, a not needing structure, a not needing our smartphones all the time. And it's funny, as soon as we got on this shuttle bus to go back into the city, we're way up in the redwoods and going back into San Francisco. Every parent on the bus immediately plugged their kids into some device
Something. Yeah.
that they sat and watched because, the parents either wanted to sleep or get some work done. So let's entertain the kids with the device. The kids didn't need a device when they were out there at the campground. They just needed to be able to run and holler and play and tumble and make up games with each other. So maybe it wouldn't hurt us as adults to find a little bit more of that spontaneity and that playfulness and that, again, that waking up in the morning, not knowing how your day's going to end. How could we add more adventure to our lives? And to do that, there's got to be a certain amount of spontaneity and lack of structure. And, we all get up and we think we need more structure in our life. I can get more done, then I can be more productive. But if being productive made us happy, we'd all be happy motherfuckers, but we're not. And, and we either shame ourselves because we're not productive enough, or we're productive all the time, waiting for that day to come that we get, again, to have our best day or be happy. So, to answer your question, what could we take from child development? Is it play? We need unstructured, spontaneous, creative playtime.
Yeah, it is so true. I've been in Hawaii for a few months and I've never been more nonchalant with how I treat my days. It's not structured calls every single hour. I'm not going from one thing to the next, waking up later. I'm allowing life to just happen as it is. And I think that's something we need to take into our everyday lives, to really treat every day like, this could be our last day. It doesn't have to be thing to thing to thing. We're just rushing so much, and it's unfortunate that it is that way. I'm so glad you brought up shame, because that is something that is inaccurately internalized when we're young. And it is very disappointing because so many people go into life, like you said, is either shame or anxiety. And usually it's a mix of both. How do you help men, especially in men's groups, overcome that shame in whatever direction it's coming from? I mean, mostly it's pointed towards us.
I suspect that probably all humans have shame.
Yeah.
Because, again, as children, any uncomfortable experience, children are narcissistic by nature. I learned that in child development.
Yeah.
We believe we are the cause of everything that happens. Now, that's not irrational, but I mean, our rational brain doesn't even start coming online till around 2.
Yeah.
And it doesn't finish in men until about 25. So these are emotional beliefs. They're typically, they're just normal. They're natural child development stages of development. So we're narcissistic. We believe we're the cause of everything, which leads to a grandiosity, which means I must be really bad if I cause these bad things to happen. I'm hungry and I don't get fed. I must have caused that. I messed up my diaper. I don't get changed. We're not thinking again. It's just emotional. So grandiosity, I must be really bad, but also a grandiosity that if I'm so bad, I can be good. I can fix this. I can make it better. I magically make everything work okay. Nice guys do have that magical belief system. If they do everything right, life will be smooth and problem free. It's one of our major covert contracts with life in the world.
Yeah.
So we've got this dynamic of the shame. So I think pretty much probably everybody internalizes inaccurately this sense of I'm not lovable, I'm not good, I'm bad. What we all do at a very early age is we try to do things to comfort those feelings, to manage the discomfort. Some babies eat, some babies sleep, some babies cry. I sucked my thumb till I was in kindergarten, so maybe I was managing some uncomfortable feelings. So we're all doing that at a very primitive level, kind of almost lizard brain level. How can I feel better in the midst of feeling bad? The other thing every child tries to do is try to prevent those uncomfortable feelings from happening again in the future. Again, using a very primitive mind. That becomes what we call our neuroses. Neuroses are, everybody's neurotic. Everybody has neuroses that seem to make sense at that very early hypnotic state of life. And because we internalize them at such a deep emotional level, we carry them into adolescence, try out all these different identities. They get solidified as we come into adulthood. And those are our neuroses. And they all developed when we were just helpless, dependent little babies, thinking, well, if I smile all the time, that'll be good. Or if I stay angry all the time, that will keep people from hurting me. Or if, whatever we internalize. Nice guy syndrome is just one form of neuroses. It's just one form of trying to manage uncomfortable feelings and trying to prevent them from happening again in the future. So everybody walking the planet probably has, some form of neurotic adaptation of trying to deal with an uncomfortable world. So for nice guys, the most effective way I know to deal with the shame, and I talk about this, pretty fundamentally in No More Mr. Nice Guys, go find safe people. Yeah. That can be a life coach, it can be a therapist, it can be a 12-step group, it can be a men's group, it can be a church group, it can be your minister. Probably it's not your mother, probably it's not your girlfriend, not to vilify them, but they are going to have a certain emotional investment in you being a certain way and seeing you in a certain way, and you not being different from who you are. And you might know that and not be fully revealing. We've got to find places, and this can be challenging, but I don't think it's impossible, where we can become, as we talked before about being vulnerable, be completely vulnerable. I got lucky. I landed in a 12-step group. My first, when my ex-wife said, "You need to go get help. You're not such a nice guy." Oh, okay. He said, "You're a sex addict." So I went to a 12-step group for sex addicts. Quickly found out I wasn't having enough sex to be a sex addict, but I loved going to that group. It was all men, pretty hardcore. I mean, there's some guys in there, there's some pretty messed up stuff. And for the first time in my life, I grew up, fundamental Christian, hide everything, critical father, hide everything, angry feminism, hide everything. So, put on the good face and try to look good. And so for the first time in my life, I just started revealing things that I'd never shared. So maybe just thoughts, feelings, impulses, past behaviors or actions. It didn't matter. If my brain said, "Don't share this," I shared it. Okay. And I'd go to these 12-step meetings. I think they met like at 6 a.m. It's really early. I'd get excited about going to this 12-step group to talk about my shit that I never shared with anybody. And it just really felt good to have that release, that I didn't have to pack this stuff around and I could just be me. So I think to release this, we have to have safe people. I mean, the worst thing that ever happened is I'd share something and go, "Thanks for sharing, Robert." That's the worst thing that ever happened. Yeah. And then that let me start taking risk with other people, including partners and friends, and being more truthful and transparent and honest and authentic. And I found out, wow, people actually don't have the big negative reactions I thought they might have by me being real and honest. And so it was just liberating, and it let me just be me. Now that I've released all this shame that I was used to, protecting with the kind of, if shame is one, the reaction, trying to be a nice guy is the other action. Well, I've got to be good. I got to be especially good. I got to look good all the time. I got to put on a good front. Once I got rid of the shame, it's like, I can be me, warts and all. I can say dumb stuff. I can not know stuff, and that's okay. I can have impulses that are kind of dark, and that's all right. I can just reveal them rather than act on them. And so it was so liberating, and I just came to realize that not only does sharing your shame, basically anything you don't want to tell people, tell somebody. Yeah. And it also gives you more accurate information about yourself, because so many times, especially in men's groups, a guy will share something that he's done or thought about himself, and he's just riddled with toxic shame about it. I'm so bad, I'm so terrible. And the guys will look at him and go, "That's it? Everybody does that. That's normal. You're a normal guy." You go, "Oh, really? I'm not the world's worst person, because I have a girlfriend who I love, but I also objectify that woman over there. Now you're pretty normal." That's kind of a guy thing. In fact, your girlfriend probably looks at guys and she goes, "Oh, he's hot too." So you get more accurate information about yourself that lets you just shed the neuroses we've been packing around since we were 2 weeks old, 2 months old, 2 years old. So that safe person, safe people, safe groups, it's just critical.
It is the most important thing. I think finding a place where you can be safe, vulnerable, and honest about yourself is probably the most transformative thing that we can do in our lives, because that is going to allow us to be our authentic selves in the world. It's funny because
Yeah.
we want to be acknowledged, we want to be seen, we want to be appreciated, but most of the time we want to be seen, but we don't want to be seen as who we really are, but we want to be seen as the person that we want other people to see us as. And as soon as you allow yourself to be vulnerable in those spaces, you allow yourselves to be vulnerable in other spaces as well, and actually be that authentic self that you are.
I'm even smiling because, yeah, we want to be seen, but sometimes people seeing us, and complimenting us or saying like, "Oh, your book changed my life," or we don't want to hear that either. Sometimes even the good stuff. No. Don't make me bear the burden of hearing good stuff about myself either. So it is a practice to be vulnerable, to let this stuff out that we've been judging ourselves about, to find out we're normal, we're not bad. If we make mistakes, we can learn from them, we can make amends, we can adjust our behavior, and people can love us warts and all. In fact, probably love us more warts and all than just being all shiny and smooth and I don't ever do anything wrong, or I'm not going to let you know about it. Yeah, like I say, no more Mr. Nice Guy. We connect with people's rough edges, and our rough edges is all that stuff inside we try not to let anybody see. Maybe it's okay to let them see it.
Yeah, it's needed. It's needed. I know when you wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, it wasn't so much like this is everything that I've done, but more so this is where I failed. This is where you can move forward and kind of do better, which is such a powerful thing. I think for a lot of authors, I ask this question to almost probably every author that I've spoke to, is I find that it's not the book that we read that has the biggest impact on us, but more so the one that we write. And I can use this towards authors because, you've written plenty of different books. Is there a book that taught you the most about yourself, or what have you taken from writing books?
I heard one time, write the book that you would want to read. And so I've always done that. And I recommend to a lot of people, write a book. Whether you ever get it published or not, maybe it's not that important. Maybe it is. But I'm also a big fan of doing a deep dive into your struggles, whatever you struggle with. Dive into that. Go into it. Maybe, become a master. Like, guys would say, well, I'm not good at talking to women. I go, okay, master it. Well, I'm not good at sending text messages. Become a master of it. And so there's something about just going into the depths of something that helps you not only understand it better, but it shifts something inside of you. And then if you've struggled with something and mastered it, maybe somebody else has struggled with that too and would appreciate, what you found out. Because, I've often said No More Mr. Nice Guy is not a chronicle of my successes. It's a record of my fuck ups. It's the stuff that I didn't get right and I bumbled my way through. And that's okay, because now I've got stories to tell and something to share that I learned from all my stumbles and all my mistakes and all my misperceptions. And I think that's often most helpful to people, rather than, oh, look, here's how I succeeded. Like go on the internet nowadays, do like me. I 10x this. I had $1 million launch. Be like me. I go, tell me about your struggles. What do you struggle with? That is what I want to learn from.
Yeah. And that's exactly where I want to end this conversation, because there's one last question I ask every guest. My question for you is, what belief are you currently unlearning?
What belief? That's a brilliant question. What belief am I currently unlearning? Uh, it's interesting. I don't know if this comes with age or having almost died about 7 years ago, of having something that was killing me that I didn't know what it was, and surrendering into it. Two things that often come up into my mind about almost anything is that one is, I don't know. That's just kind of maybe part of aging, or just part of realizing everything we thought we did know. I don't, even though I make my living giving answers, I just don't know about a lot of stuff. And the other is, it doesn't really matter. So I think maybe what I'm unlearning is thinking I've got to know everything, and everything that I do know matters and is important. And maybe I don't need to know everything. And maybe what I do know, maybe it doesn't even all matter all that much. So I think that's how I would answer your question, is what I'm unlearning is that I got to have all the answers and that all those answers matter.
I love it. I think if everyone, that is the thing that we need to hear. That's what we need to really take in and internalize at the end of the day. That's why I asked that question, is we're all always going through something. We're always unlearning, learning new things.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where we are. And we don't know. None of us do know. None of us have the answers. I love it. Thank you so much for your time. Of course, all of your links and books will be in the show notes, but is there anywhere you'd like to direct people?
Yeah, you'll probably have them go to drglover.com, just drglover.com, and integrationnation.net, which is my men's membership program. So integrationnation.net.
Thank you so much for your time.
James, thank you. This was fun.